Why was a woman in uniform standing alone at a Navy SEAL memorial? And why didn't anyone know her name? It was Memorial Day weekend in Pensacola. The air was thick with salt and humidity, the kind that clings to your skin and settles into your bones. American flags swayed along the pier while families stood quietly, eyes shaded by sunglasses and reverence. Veterans stood in solemn formation. The sound of bagpipes drifted like a distant heartbeat, and there she was. She stood near the front of the platform, alone. Her uniform was regulation sharp khaki utilities pressed. The SEAL insignia clean but understated, hair pulled back in a tight braid, her 8-point cover casting a neat shadow across steady eyes. The way she stood, it wasn't forced. Her boots weren't new. Her stance wasn't rehearsed. It was lived in. But no one knew her. Retired Master Chief Earl Dunning sat 3 rows back, arms folded, jaw set like stone. 30 years in the teams gave him instincts retirement could shake, and something about her didn't sit right. A woman in SEAL uniform wasn't impossible, but unannounced, standing alone, front and center. That was a red flag. He rose slowly, the years showing in his knees more than his spine. "Lieutenant," he nodded to a junior officer. "Who is she?" The officer checked the clipboard, brows furrowing. "Not listed, sir." "Then she is either." "Very cleared." "Or she's lying." Dunning moved toward her with steady, deliberate steps. She didn't flinch, didn't glance sideways. When he reached her, he spoke low. "Morning." She turned to him, eyes calm. "Morning, Chief. Which team?" he asked. She looked away, voice quieter. "Classified." He narrowed his eyes. "Let me see your ID." She didn't move. "Can help you there?" That when he saw it. Just beneath her sleeve, a tattoo peeked out. A trident. Not the standard one. This one was stylized, intricate, with faint runic symbols etched into the anchor. He'd seen it once, long ago. Whispered about in bars where Tier 1 operators drank only with ghosts. That mark wasn't for show. Dunning stiffened. "Security," he barked to a nearby officer. "Now." Military police moved fast, within minutes. She was surrounded. Civilians watched in hushed confusion, murmurs rising. A few clapped. Not understanding, others stared. "Ma'am." One officer said sharply, "You under arrest for impersonating a Navy SEAL." She didn't argue, didn't resist. As they cuffed her hands behind her back, she said only one thing. "Tell Admiral Jonathan Hayes. Leah Monroe says hello." The name hit the officer like a slap. "Admiral Hayes?" "He retired 7 years ago," someone muttered. She smiled. "Just a little." "Exactly." Then they shoved her into the back of a cruiser. Inside, the ride was silent. The kind of silence that pulls at the edges of your nerves. The young MP beside her finally spoke. "You know, this stunt is gonna land you federal time." She stared straight ahead. "I know exactly what it carries," he scoffed. "Uniform, custom tattoo, too." She turned just slightly. "That one, real." The MP rolled his eyes. "Sure it is." But she didn't argue. She didn't need to. At the local military holding station, they processed her. No ID. No military record. Fingerprints returned to 73%. Matched to a woman who died in Afghanistan. A woman named Leah Monroe. Deceased 2012. But this wasn't a corpse, and she knew things. Things no civilian should know. They placed her in an interrogation room. Pale gray walls, flickering light above, windowless. It smelled like disinfectant and authority. She sat calmly, hands folded, waiting, like she'd been here before. She had. Many times, just never on American soil. 2 NCIS agents entered. One older, square-jawed, stern. The other younger, nervously holding a laptop like a shield. "Name," the older one barked. She didn't blink. "You already know it." "Cut the games. He slapped a file on the table. Where do you learn hop code? Who trained you in field protocol? She tilted her head slightly. Is this how you interrogate everyone who shows up to honor the fallen? The younger agent leaned in. You said Admiral Hayes would know the truth. Why? She looked at him calmly. Because he will know the tattoo is real. You expect us to believe that? She leaned forward, voice quieter. You should expect nothing, you. We're already in deeper than you understand. They didn't know it yet, but they opened a door that couldn't to be closed. An hour passed. The door opened again. This time, slower. Man entered, tall, silver-haired, uniform without insignia. He didn't speak at first, just stared. Leah stood. Admiral Hayes, she said. He approached without a word, moving like he carried a storm in his bones. He studied her. Then he saw the tattoo. His eyes darkened. He turned to the agents. That tattoo, that's real, he said, barely above a whisper. Only 6 ever wore it, and they were buried deeper than ghosts. He looked back at Leah. Uncuff her. The cuffs snapped open. Leah rubbed her wrists but didn't show pain. No anger. No relief. Like this wasn't the first time she been shackled. Probably wouldn't to be the last. The younger agent stammered. Sir. She was arrested impersonating. Stand down, Agent Wilcox. Hayes. S voice cut like a blade. You done to have clearance for what you've stumbled into. Leah sat back down, calm as ever. Told you, she said softly. Hayes remained standing. He didn't sit, didn't relax. The air in the room changed. Do you know what it cost to bury Cerberus? He asked her. She nodded. I lived it. He studied her again. Everyone thought you were dead. She leaned forward. Everyone was supposed to. Silence. Heavy and still. Then she pulled a small plastic-wrapped USB from her uniform seam. Encrypted kill orders, she said. Every one of us, including me, my name. S at the bottom, with today, S date. Wilcox reached for it. Hayes blocked him. No. Chain of custody runs through me. He turned to Leah. Come with me, both of you. They exited the room swiftly, leaving behind 1,000 unanswered questions. But one truth had already cracked the surface. Something impossible had walked back into the light, and her name was Leah Monroe. She stood in a secure military safe room unchained, surrounded by men who didn't know whether to salute or pull a gun. No one said it out loud, but the tension was thick. Admiral Hayes moved like he was walking through a battlefield made of secrets. The room they entered was soundproofed, buried 3 levels below the base, used only for one thing, talking about things America didn't want to admit existed. He inserted the USB drive into a classified terminal as the screen flickered to life, files populated in harsh red, coordinates, code names, photographs, kill orders. Leah leaned against the wall, arms crossed, calm, collected. But inside, the moments stretched like piano wire. She was used to betrayal, but seeing her name on that list on U.S. military targeting software felt like watching your own obituary typed out by the country you bled for. Wilcox read the file aloud. Termination directive. Monroe, Leah, location, Pensacola, priority level, critical. The words didn't sting, they confirmed what she already knew. Who signed these? Hayes muttered. She pointed to the digital signature, E. Kane. Wilcox's fingers flew across his keyboard. Edward Kane, CIA Black Ops Coordinator, presumed KIA Syria 2015. Hayes went rigid. He's dead. No, Leah said softly. He's not. She'd watched his convoy explode, watched flames chew through the wreckage. She'd walked away certain. Now she wasn't sure of anything. If Kane's alive, Hayes whispered, he's the only one who could sign off on these. His jaw clenched. He was our handler. He knows everything. Wilcox's voice went quieter. If he's in control of Cerberus data, he could kill all of you with precision. He already is, Leah said. Killian died last year. Supposed house fire. Reaper was poisoned in Berlin. Mantis went out a window. Hayes winced at the names. They weren't just operatives. They were ghosts, family, and they were gone. Leah didn't flinch. I needed you to see it. That's why I got arrested. I couldn't hide anymore. Wilcox looked confused. Why not just come to us? She shot him a look that pierced straight through. Who exactly is us anymore, Agent? Hayes exhaled, heavy with history. Cerberus was a gamble. In 2004, we handpicked 6 operators for off-books missions. No names, no files, just code cal signs. He glanced at Leah. She was Viper. Wilcox looked up. There's no trace. In any system, there's not supposed to be, Hayes replied. We buried them in silence. No one writes down a ghost's name. You pray they do their job, and you pray harder they never turn on you. His eyes lingered on Leah, but you never did. She gave him nothing, not a nod, not a smile, just canes tying up loose ends. And I'm the last one. Hayes nodded, then stood. All right, I'll call in some favors. Deep ones. But I need to confirm every part of this before we act. Leah blocked his path. There's no time. I still need proof. You have it, she said. You just don't want to believe it. Hayes stared her down. He didn't blink, didn't break, and yet something in his face shifted. The years hadn't made him softer, just slower to trust. What do you want from me, Monroe? Let me disappear, she said. Kane thinks I'm dead. I need it to stay that way until I find him. He hesitated. She added, It's our only shot. For a moment, the war between duty and memory played across his face. Then he finally said it. We just got you back. You didn't get me back, she said quietly. You just remembered I existed. At midnight, she was gone. Walked out the side gate with forged documents and a clean face. No one stopped her. No one would remember her name in the logs, but someone was watching. Across the street, hidden. On a rooftop, a man in a gray SUV whispered into a Bluetooth mic. His voice was gravel, like he'd been smoking vengeance for breakfast. Target confirmed, Viper's alive. The reply came a moment later. Then we finished the job. Back in her hotel room, Leah stripped off her shirt and stared into the mirror. The scars on her body told a story only ghosts could understand. Knife wounds near her ribs, shrapnel burn on her side. Each one earned, each one survived. And then the tattoo, the trident, but not ordinary, modified, Norse runes etched down the anchor's shaft, symbols for vengeance, silence, resurrection. Only 6 of them ever had that mark. All 6 were supposed to be dead. All except her. She redressed slowly, checked her weapon, and walked to the window. For an hour she watched the street below, noted faces, counted minutes, recorded plates. First, rule of Cerberus. Never settle. Surveillance begins the moment you arrive. That's when she saw him. Buzz cut, stocky build, gray SUV, Bluetooth mic, and the glint of metal under his jacket. Not a cop, not a civilian. Vanguard Solutions, Kane's old shell company. He wasn't just watching. He was waiting. Kane had found her across the country, deep inside a records vault under Arlington. Hayes stood beneath yellow lights as a technician cracked open a file that hadn't seen air in 10 years. I had to override 3 clearances to get this open. The tech muttered. Hayes nodded. That's because Cerberus was buried under black budgets and bad memories. Inside the file, just 1 page. Faded, redacted. Cerberus Directive, Level Omega. Hayes read it aloud. 6 operators, no family, no traceable identity, no future. The call signs: Viper, Ghost, Reaper, Talon, Mantis, Echo, all dead, except 1. Back in Pensacola, Leah moved. She exited through the fire escape, climbed onto the roof, crossed to a neighboring building in 2 quiet leaps. Then she aimed her phone camera at the SUV. and snapped a photo of the watcher's face. She sent it to an encrypted vet-only network. A favor owed. A code whispered. Oath still stands. Reply came in 4 minutes. Eric Marston, ex-CIA, joined Vanguard 2017. Still tied to Kane. Her stomach sank. Kane. He was supposed to be ash and bones in the Syrian sand. She'd watched him die, hadn't she? Back in Hayes' office, the USB files decrypted further. It wasn't just kill orders. It was Cerberus sins, black missions, Eastern Europe, the Middle East, and even stateside. But not just missions, cover-ups, civilian targets, unlisted operations. They'd been used, controlled. Cerberus had never disbanded. It had been bled dry, and now they were cleaning the stain. Hayes grabbed his encrypted phone. She's marked, he said, and they're close. Leah returned to her hotel. Her door was open, not kicked in, not broken, just open. She entered with her back to the wall, sidearm raised, silent, no blood, no struggle. But on the bed sat a black envelope, wax-sealed with Kane's initials. Inside, a photo of her and Hayes from earlier that day, a red circle drawn around. Both below, 5 words. We finish what we start. She crushed the paper in her fist. Enough. She was done hiding. She didn't want revenge. She wanted the truth, and she'd burn down the silence to get it. How do you fight an enemy who knows your every move because he trained you? The safe house was dust-covered, hidden behind rusted industrial lots near Panama City. No one had been here in years. That's why Leah chose it. She slipped through the broken side door and stepped into a familiar darkness. Cerberus called these hollow zones, places with no digital footprint. She moved with purpose, past empty crates, under exposed beams. Then she found it, a false floor panel in the niche corner. She pried it open. Inside, a sealed black lockbox labeled VO2, Viper Operator 2. She opened it slowly. Everything was still there. Her custom sidearm, burn phones, encoded comms, 3 sets of forged IDs, and a single photo, 6 teammates. Ghost, Reaper, Mantis, Echo, Talon, and her, all young, all deadly, all now gone. She stared at their faces. Not just teammates. They were her only family. She touched the edge of the photo gently, like it might break. Then she loaded 2 mags, strapped a sidearm to her thigh, zipped a photo into her vest pocket, and activated her old comms device. A short static buzz. Then a voice answered. Operator V2, this channel is dark. Confirm intent. Kane's alive, she said. I'm going to draw him out. A pause then. Understood, Viper. We're listening. On the other side of the country, deep inside a glass tower disguised as a consulting firm. Edward Kane stared at a surveillance monitor. Leah's photo was on screen. She's awake, he muttered. Behind him, a man in a tailored suit adjusted his tie. You said Cerberus was erased. Kane's voice dropped. Then let's finish. The last ghost. He pressed a button. Deploy the reclaim protocol. Back in the warehouse. Leah sat cross-legged on the cold concrete floor. She laid out her Cerberus kit piece by piece. Suppressors, knives, encrypted drives. She moved like it was a ritual. Each item had a purpose, a weight, a memory. She opened a second box, the one she hadn't touched in years. Inside, a single dusty hard drive. It powered on Cerberus. ISO&LY, she typed. Her call sign, Viper 02, access granted. The mission list populated. All Cerberus ops, each tagged in red. One by one she opened them. Syria, Ukraine, Istanbul, Alaska. But the tags weren't completed. They were kill orders. Each teammate's name, next to a cold-coded line, Kier, confirmed, Ghost. Vehicle. Explosion, Mantis. Balcony fall, Reaper, poisoned, Echo, single gunshot. Only one was yellow. Talon. Status. Unknown. She paused. Jordan Bryce. Her closest ally. The one who saved her in Istanbul. The one she buried in a sandstorm during A botched extraction. She'd mourned him. But what if she buried a lie? Across state lines, Admiral Hayes sat alone in his office. The secure line buzzed. He picked up without hesitation. "It's her," said the voice of a trusted Pentagon analyst. She accessed a ghost drive. Hayes leaned forward. "Has Kane's team located her?" "Not yet. She's using fractured subnetworks. They're blind." "Good," Hayes said. "Keep it that way. Let her lead us to Kane." "Sir," the voice warned. "If she gets caught again—" "She won't," Hayes cut in. "She's not the hunted. She's bait." Leah uploaded the entire Cerberus kill list to a hidden cloud server masked behind a fake NGO. Then she opened the last file in the archive. Final mission log. Date: 10 days before she disappeared. Location: Northern Syria. Objective: eliminate arms dealers supplying U.S. enemies. But the log didn't match what they'd been told. The target wasn't a terrorist. He was a CIA asset. The order hadn't come from military command. It came from Kane. He'd used Cerberus for a political assassination. And when Leah questioned it, when she confronted him, his convoy exploded. Her death was staged in the chaos. Cerberus wasn't retired. It was sacrificed suddenly. Headlights blinked outside the warehouse. One by one, SUVs. Black, silent. They were here. She moved fast, flicked on the manual EMP system, wired to detonate every electronic signal within 15 feet. She positioned herself behind stacked crates. Heart slowing, breath controlled. She wasn't afraid. She was ready. The first operative breached through the side. Tactical gear, suppressed weapon. 2 others followed silently. She tossed a marble-sized device. It bounced once, twice, flashbang, they screamed. She dropped 2 with clean leg shots, non-lethal, but permanent. The third fired wildly, panicked. She ducked, rolled, and struck his jaw with a spinning elbow. He dropped. 3 more came through the front. They triggered the EMP. Their radios sparked. Night vision died. Fall back. Fall. Too late. She dropped from the rafters. Took out 2 in 5 seconds. 1 baton to the throat. 1 to the skull. The last one ran. She let him. He'd lead her to Kane. She picked up a sat phone from one of the men and dialed. "It started," she told Hayes. "Casualties?" "None. Not yet. I didn't kill them. Then Kane will escalate." She looked down at one of the IDs. Vanguard Solutions. Tier 3 contractor. On the back. A location. Kane had gotten careless. Later that night. She stood on a motel rooftop, staring out at the horizon. The badge fluttered in her hand like a dare. No one was coming to save her, but that was fine. She wasn't here to be saved. She was here to end this. What do you do when the only man you ever trusted walks down the stairs? And he is supposed to be dead. The address on the Vanguard badge led to the middle of nowhere. A gravel path veered off from an abandoned ranger station in the Virginia. Woods. There were no fences, no guards, just silence. Leah parked a quarter-mile away, boots crunching over leaves as she moved through the brush. Every branch snap, every rustle of wind louder than it needed to be. Her instincts stayed ahead of her feet. She expected a compound. Instead, she found a church, old, boarded up, stained. Glass shattered long ago. The only thing left holy was the silence. But something was off. Tracks behind the building. Fresh tire marks. Electrical noise faint in the air. Someone had been using this place, not for worship, but for secrets. She entered through a collapsed side wall. Inside, pews were shoved to the sides. Tarps covered military-grade surveillance equipment. There were cameras facing every window. The altar had been hollowed into a hatch. She found the handle and pulled. A staircase descended into the dark. At the same time, hundreds of miles away, Admiral Hayes stood in a secure Pentagon room facing 3 men in gray suits, eyes empty of empathy. "You had no authorization to release Monroe," one snapped. Hayes didn't to blink. She as the last living. Cerberus operator. Cerberus doesn't exist. Then why is she being hunted? Hayes tossed a folder onto the table. There. Kill links. Every Cerberus death. Tied to Vanguard. Tied to Kane. You. Risking a national security leak. No. Hayes said. I am preventing one. They didn't like that. Back in the hidden chamber below the church, Leah descended step by cautious step. The basement was cavernous, half server farm, half armory. Bare bulbs flickered overhead. Surveillance monitors, encrypted gear, and weapons crates lined the walls. A single laptop sat open. She moved toward it, paused, and hit play. Kane's voice came through, grainy but unmistakable. She'll all come here. She'll all want answers. Let her see what she left behind. Then we closed the loop. Behind the video, a document. Loaded on screen, Cerberus termination protocol. Final phase. Then a word appeared that hit like a brick to the chest. Talon. Active, she staggered back. Her breath caught. Talon. Jordan Bryce, he deep in her right hand, her closest ally. She remembered his voice in sandstorms, his jokes under fire, the way he pulled her out of Istanbul bleeding and broken. She buried him in 2012. She saw the fire consume his evac, or thought she did. She spun around as footsteps echoed above, weapon drawn, shoulders tense. A silhouette appeared on the stairs. Rifle ready, she aimed, then froze. Jordan? She whispered. He stepped into the light, older. But it was him. The same posture, same fire in the eyes. I never died, he said softly. Neither did you. She didn't. To lower her weapon. You here to kill me? He paused. I was sent to contain you. Not a no. He took a cautious step forward. You rewrite about Kane. He used us, and now he's burning the evidence. She didn't to move. He reached into his vest, pulled out a small chip drive. This is the roster, he said. All 6 of us. Hayes is next. Her stomach dropped. Why? Because he helped you. That makes him a leak. They stood in silence. So many questions. Too much history. Finally, she nodded once. They moved together, gathering what they could from the underground server. Kill orders, contracts, Kane, says. Voice clips, black ops schedules, satellite trails, everything they could carry. Everything that could burn the lies down. Then she called Hayes. Sir, you need to leave D.C. right now. A pause on the line. Calm. I've been expecting them. He said, just tell me, do you have what we need? She looked at Jordan. He gave a single nod. We've got everything. Hayes' voice sharpened. Then bring it to me. Let us send this. They didn't speak much on the drive. The roads between Virginia and D.C. stretched like veins through the dark. Leah sat in the passenger seat, fingers wrapped tight around her sidearm, eyes on every car that passed. She didn't trust him. Not fully. He hadn't flinched when they discussed Kane. He hadn't lied. But trust was earned in inches, not leaps. You playing both sides? She finally asked. Jordan didn't look at her. If I was you, you'd already be dead. That's not a denial. He smiled faintly. You always ask the wrong questions. Wrong answers get people killed. He exhaled slowly. I never stopped. Being one of us, Leah, I just buried it better. D.C. rose like a quiet colossus on the horizon. The streets were wet with early morning rain. It was 3:43 a.m. when they pulled into a private garage beneath an old Marine-owned bookstore. Hayes was already there. No uniform, no fanfare, just a plain jacket and weary eyes. You were followed? He asked. Maybe. If so, they slower than they think. Leah handed him a sealed case. Inside, every bite of evidence they'd stolen from Kane's black site. Hayes opened the drives. They lit up green, one after another. This is enough to fry him, he muttered. Vanguard goes public, maybe even indict some senators. Jordan snorted. I'll spin it in 48 hours. Deny, bury, Pretend it never existed. Hayes looked at Leah. Not if you testify. She went cold. I don. Want my name back. You wouldn't. Get it, he replied. But you, stop this from happening again. She was quiet. She felt the photo in her pocket pressing into her chest. Finally, she nodded. Then we go public, but only after Kane's neutralized. At that exact moment, across Arlington, Kane stood in a penthouse suite, sipping bourbon, watching them on. A grainy feed. She, alive, he muttered. The aide beside him hesitated. Should we send another team? Kane's eyes never left the screen. No, we escalate. He opened the steel vault. Removed a shoebox-sized black device. Activate Chimera. The aide stiffened. That's not sanctioned. Kane's voice dropped to a whisper. Neither is this war. What happens when the people trying to protect the truth become the next targets? It began with a flicker. The lights in the Alexandria safe house stuttered a low, mechanical hum rose from somewhere beneath the floorboards. Leah's instincts kicked in instantly. She dropped her coffee, pulled her weapon, and glanced toward Hayes. EMP, she said flatly. The screens went black. Backup batteries failed in sequence. Their data upload was halfway through, and then the front windows shattered inward. 3 figures stormed in full tactical armor, matte black, helmets with no markings. Silenced weapons, clean formation, not just mercenaries, Chimera Kane's elite hit squad. Hayes dove for cover as rounds snapped into the drywall behind him. Leah rolled behind the couch and returned fire. 2 shots, controlled. Precision. One hit a knee joint, the operator dropped. Jordan tackled the second assailant near the kitchen. Driving a blade between his shoulder plates, the man gurgled once, silent after. Hayes grabbed a radio from the shattered desk and threw it to Leah. Take it. Get out. Get the evidence to the press. But Leah didn't move. She was breathing heavy, crouched low behind a pillar, jaw clenched. I'm not leaving you, she growled. Leah, Hayes barked. This isn't about us anymore. Another burst of silenced rounds forced them all lower. Jordan grabbed Hayes by the collar. We split, he said. Draw them out. Give her a window. They didn't wait for a vote. The 3 of them broke through the back exit in opposite directions. Chimera followed. Their boots hit the wet alley pavement like thunderclaps. Leah ran low along the fire escape, skipping steps. Like a phantom, she didn't look back. Not once, because she knew what Kane was doing. He wasn't hunting her. He was trying to erase everything by midnight. Jordan and Hayes regrouped under the Potomac Metro Tunnel, an old Cold War network once used to move CIA assets. Concrete walls, rusted rails, hidden from satellites, hidden from truth. But Leah wasn't there. She, well, come, Hayes said. Jordan didn't. Speak for a long moment. She trusted me. After all this time, that's rare. She sees what others can, Hayes replied. That's why Kane fears her. Jordan nodded. And what do you see? Hayes looked away. Hope, maybe for the first time in years. Then, the radio crackled. Leah's voice, steady, cold, unapologetic. I, at Vanguard, HQ. Silence. I am ending this. Kane stood in his penthouse. Still watching, still waiting then. The alert blinked red across the screen. Security breach. Tier 4 access point location. Vanguard HQ, sublevel 6. Kane turned. The aide beside him paled. She's walking in the front door, the aide whispered. And she was, no mask, no armor. Just Leah. Boots echoing on polished tile, her sidearm holstered. Her badge from the downed Chimera op clipped to her chest. She wanted him to see her, to remember every name he'd buried, to remember the one ghost he missed. Kane activated the intercom. All units intercept Viper. Lethal force authorized. But Leah didn't to flinch. She moved past the security checkpoint. The biometric scanner accepted her ID chip, Jordan's chip. The door hissed open. Below, Kane's soldiers moved to intercept. He turned to his aide. Deploy the gas room sweep. I want her disoriented. Alive if possible. But deep down, he knew better. She wasn't to walking into his fortress to be captured. She was walking in to burn it to the ground. Underground, the corridors were cold steel. Lights flickered overhead like nervous pulses. Leah slid a rebreather over her mouth as a faint hiss filled the vents. Gas. She moved low, quiet, waited behind a support beam, listened. 3 sets of boots, advancing. She timed her breath. 3, 2, 1 flash grenade. It bounced once. The blast lit the hallway white. One man screamed. Another stumbled. She took them down fast, non-lethal shots to the vest. To the helmet. One collapsed. She disarmed the last one and dragged his body out of the corridor. A badge? Tier 5. Jackpot. Kane stared at the screen. 3 more down. Kimura was collapsing. The aide stammered. Sir, we have to evacuate. No, Kane snapped. We end it tonight. He moved to the vault, opened the chamber door. Inside, the last failsafe. Project Ragnarok, a localized server virus designed to wipe Vanguard's entire operational history. Digital kill orders, shadow contracts, Cerberus mission logs, all of it. 5 minutes, that's all it would take, and no one would ever prove any of it existed. Kane initiated the countdown, but when he turned, Leah was already there, standing beside the server, holding a flash drive. I don't think you re-leaving, Kane, she said softly. He blinked. You not going to shoot me? He smirked. You need me. I am the only one who can cancel the wipe. She inserted the drive. He rushed forward. Too slow. Ragnarok overridden. Admin access revoked. Kane staggered. That's impossible. Jordan's code, she replied. Turns out he didn't forgive you either. Kane lunged. She moved first. One clean strike across his temple. He dropped to a knee. Blood down his cheek. She grabbed him by the collar. Who else? She hissed. Who gave the Cerberus kill order? Kane coughed, smiled with bloodied teeth. You really want to know? Yes, he leaned in. It wasn't just me, he whispered. The directive came from above, your president's cabinet. Your senators, they wanted you erased so they could stay clean. She froze, not in shock, but in quiet confirmation she already knew. Kane grinned. You think you saved Cerberus? You just exposed it. You think they'll let you live now? She leaned closer. I'm not trying to live, she whispered. Then she dropped the transmitter from her vest, a military-grade beacon, live stream enabled. The feed went everywhere. Kane's confession, her face, the server files uploading to mirrored nodes across the globe. Outside the compound, Hayes and Jordan pulled up just as the stream went live. They stared at the screen, at Leah, at Kane. Hayes let out a breath. She did it, Jordan nodded. She just made herself the most dangerous witness on Earth. Hayes was already pulling his encrypted phone. Then we better make sure she stays alive. Inside, Leah stared down at Kane. He was unconscious now, beaten, bloodied, broken. She reached into her vest, pulled out the old photo, the 6 of them, back. When they believed, she placed it on his chest. Now you can remember us too. Then she walked into the shadows, unseen, unforgotten. What do you do when the whole world finally sees the truth, but it still might not save you? 3 hours after Leah vanished from Vanguard headquarters, headlines exploded. Breaking. Leaked intel reveals covert U.S. assassination program * rogue. CIA officials linked to deaths of secret Black Ops unit. Codename Cerberus *. Unidentified woman exposes global conspiracy. Sources confirm she's former elite operator. The footage had gone viral. Every major news outlet scrambled to verify it. King's face, his confession, the server logs, the footage of Leah standing in that room with nothing but a drive and a voice, and it was real. No one could deny it anymore. Across Pentagon corridors and Capitol Hill offices, suits panicked. There were denials, carefully worded statements. The usual, under investigation, deeply troubling, unsubstantiated. But it didn't matter. The damage was done. The world had seen a ghost, and she had spoken. In a quiet safe house outside Annapolis, Leah sat at a wobbly wooden table beside Jordan and Admiral Hayes. A laptop glowed faintly, showing files being mirrored to independent watchdog groups, journalists, and foreign human rights committees. The truth had taken root, but peace hadn't. "You'll never be able to walk openly again," Hayes said, eyes tired, voice low. "I haven't walked openly since 2012, Leah replied, sipping black coffee. "At least now I know who I am." Jordan leaned back, arms crossed. "They'll keep hunting." Leah nodded slowly. "Let them." Her voice was like a quiet challenge. Not anger, not pride. Something deeper, conviction. "They hunted us when no one knew our names," she said. "Now the world does." Hayes looked at her, then looked away. His voice cracked just slightly. "Cerberus wasn't perfect, but you made sure it wasn't forgotten." Leah stared at the sunrise creeping over the hilltop. "No," she said. "I made sure it wasn't buried." Kane was taken into custody that night. Not by police, not by men in black suits. By someone higher, someone off the books. His fate was never made public. Some whispered he died in a prison cell. Others believed he was traded away in a classified deal to make the scandal disappear. Leah didn't care. Her war was never about revenge. It was about the silence and breaking it. Weeks passed. The military launched internal reviews. Public hearings were called. Senators made speeches. And yet, behind the curtain, the deepest names stayed hidden. The true architects of Cerberus, the ones who signed the directives, wrote the checks, ordered the deaths, they were still in the shadows, always had been. That's how the system survived. But the world had changed. So had Leah. One morning, she returned to the coast of Maine, a forgotten piece of land overlooking the Atlantic, wing-carved, salt-bitten. A place that had once been used as a Cerberus training outpost. Now it was hers. The cabin was barely standing, roof caved in, walls warped, but she rebuilt it herself. Stone, wood, silence, not as a hideout, as a memorial. Behind the cabin, she carved 6 names into a granite slab. Mantis, Reaper, Echo, Talon, Ghost, Viper. No flag, no ceremony, no politics. Just the wind. Just the truth. She left her weapons in a sealed chest under the floorboards. Not because she was done fighting, but because she'd finally earned the right not to. A few weeks later, Jordan arrived. He didn't say anything at first. Just handed her a warm coffee and sat across from her on the porch. Morning mist curled around the stones. Then he pulled out an envelope. "What's this?" She asked. "A new identity," he said. "From someone at the top. Someone who wants this all to disappear quietly." Leah didn't open it. "I've been invisible long enough." Jordan tilted his head. "Then what now?" She looked out at the ocean, waves lapping against the rocks like old memories. "I trained them," she said. "The new generation, not for war, for truth." He didn't interrupt. "They need to know what not to become." She added, "They need to know that silence doesn't equal honor." Jordan looked down. "And if they come again?" She stared at him, eyes sharper than steel. "And Cerberus isn't gone. It's just waiting." That night, Leah lit a single lantern on the shoreline. One flame for each ghost. Not mourning, not vengeance. Something older. Remembrance. Somewhere. Deep inside the Pentagon, in a room with no name, a general watched the same feed. He turned to his aide. "Cerberus isn't dead," he said. The aide swallowed hard. "No, sir. It just learned how to fight without being seen." What happens when they try to bury the truth again? But this time, the truth is still breathing. The general's prediction was right. Cerberus hadn't died. It had evolved over the next month. Public interest grew feverish, then cooled under carefully orchestrated distractions. Politicians scrambled to shift narratives. Talking heads debated Leah's morality, her mental state, her existence. But her data was real, undeniable. The decrypted kill orders, the voice logs, Kane's admission, the names of operatives lost in operations never officially recorded. Every day, new journalists contacted whistleblower lines. Every day, another door cracked open in the wall of silence. But the deepest truths, the real ones, remained untouched. Because Cerberus had done more than assassinate enemies. It had eliminated OIs, silenced journalists, removed inconvenient assets that threatened hidden agendas. That was the part they couldn't let surface, and Leah knew it. She didn't expect them to stop hunting her. She expected them to get smarter, so she stayed ahead. She moved every 4 days, changed burner phones twice a week, wore faces like gloves, identities like coats. She taught young recruits in forgotten places, daughters of whistleblowers, sons of fallen assets, not how to fight, how to see, how to ask the right questions, how to disappear with dignity. She was building something, not an army, a legacy. But even legacies cast shadows. One night, just past 2 a.m., she returned to the main cabin and saw the sign. A subtle shift. The door left exactly 2 inches ajar. No wind could do that. She drew her sidearm, stepped in low, nothing, until a soft cough behind her. She turned fast, weapon drawn. Easy, Jordan said, hands raised. It's just me. Her grip loosened only slightly. Next time, knock, she muttered. He stepped inside, dropping a small case on the table. We've got a problem. She opened it. Inside, 3 photographs. Printed, untraceable. Each one showed a familiar face. Ghost, Mantis, Reaper. Their deaths, long accepted. But these weren't obituaries. They were surveillance shots, dated just months before their deaths. One photo showed Mantis arguing with someone in a hotel hallway. Another showed Reaper exiting a car near Langley. The third showed Ghost at a train station. All of them were being followed, tracked, marked, and not just by Kane. She looked up. Where did these come from? Jordan's jaw tightened. Someone inside Langley, still loyal to Hayes. Someone digging through Kane's old movements. Leah's pulse slowed. If these photos were real, it meant something worse than erasure. It meant betrayal from the start. What? If Cerberus wasn't just used, she said, what if it was built to be burned? Jordan nodded slowly. That's what Hayes is starting to think. The following morning, Leah made the call. Encrypted line, 1-word passcode. Echo fall. Hayes answered. His voice was strained. You saw the files? Yes, then you know. She did. The conspiracy didn't start when Kane turned. It started long before that. Cerberus wasn't corrupted. It was engineered that way. A disposable unit. A deniable answer to questions no agency wanted on record. And now, the plan was repeating. Jordan placed a laptop on the cabin table. Play it, he said. The screen lit up. A covert transmission intercepted from a military satellite network. A voice spoke calmly, professionally. Initiate data directive. Activate. Project Eidolon. Identify and neutralize all residual Cerberus elements. Consider them rogue threats to national continuity. Leah stared at the words on screen. Eidolon, a myth. The term meant phantom or image of the dead. A replacement program. New faces. New ghosts. Trained to erase the old ones. They're not just hunting you, Jordan said quietly. They're replacing you. She looked out the cabin window. The sky was blue, peaceful, the kind of peace that doesn't belong to people like her. Then she stood. Let them come. Later that evening, Jordan and Leah crossed the state line in a stolen black SUV. Hayes had called an emergency meet near an abandoned train depot underground. The last time they'd all stood together in person, bullets had followed. This time, it would be no different. Hayes was already there, waiting in the dark with a small portable screen in his hand. No military coat, no admiral's stripes, just the look of a man who had chosen sides. He nodded to Leah. "We've confirmed Eidolon is operational." "How many?" "Unknown. But at least 12 active operatives, highly trained, fully sanctioned. And their target?" He didn't need to say it. Leah already knew. "Us," she said flatly. Jordan added, "We traced a signal ping from the train depot's power grid. Something's running below it." Hayes handed her a worn black access card. "Level 6. It'll get you through the vault door." "Why me?" she asked. He held her gaze. "Because they're building a new Cerberus." Leah, a colder one, cleaner, the kind that doesn't question orders. She took the card, not because she agreed, but because she owed it to every face on that granite slab. Behind her cabin, Cerberus had been their mission. Now it was their warning. 1 hour later, beneath the abandoned depot, Leah and Jordan entered the vault-level lab. It was colder than it should have been. White light, clean concrete, rows of steel lockers. Inside each locker, dossiers, names, birth certificates, psychological profiles. Some of the recruits were only 18, barely old enough to shave. They weren't being trained. They were being molded, conditioned. A screen flickered on the far wall, live feed, and Kane's voice recorded months before filled the room. Cerberus was Phase 1 proving ground that the new generation? They'll be better, no memories, no ghosts, just obedience. Leah stared at the rows of files. This wasn't about cleanup anymore. It was about inheritance. They weren't just trying to kill what Cerberus had been. They wanted to copy it, without the conscience. Jordan whispered, "If they activate this, everything we did was for nothing." Leah's hands curled into fists. "Then we don't let them." She stepped back and lit the match. Not literal fire, but exposure. She opened her comms link, routed it through 3 encrypted satellites, hit stream, and spoke. "This is Viper." She paused. Her voice dropped into something deeper than fear. "This is what they've been building in the dark." She panned the camera, dossiers, photos, videos, children in tactical gear. Eidolon. Blueprints. This isn't national security. This is inheritance of silence. She uploaded the entire dump. Every file, every face, every directive. Let the world see it again, because fire spreads faster when it's already burning. Back at the cabin that night, Leah didn't sleep. She sat by the window with her sidearm on the table and her past stitched into the air around her. Jordan stood by the door. "You think it'll change anything?" "No," she whispered. "But they'll know we saw." And that, she thought, was sometimes all that mattered. "What's left when the mission is over? But you, Reese, still alive?" It began with a broadcast. Again. Leah's face, steady, tired, unflinching. "This is what they built," she said to the camera. "And this time, they can, to pretend they didn't, you know." The footage of Project Eidolon, the replacement for Cerberus, hit every major global node within minutes. Watchdog groups, whistleblower sites, underground press. It wasn't to just Kane. That's legacy anymore. It was a system, a machine that trained killers not to think, not to feel, just to obey. And Leah had shown the world its blueprint. The aftermath wasn't tea. Silence this time. It was chaos. Within days, there were resignations. An inquiry into Langley's dark budget. Internal clashes inside the Pentagon. Factions blamed one another. Investigators were blocked at every level, but they couldn't T-scrub it clean because too many people had already seen it. Still, the real architects stayed invisible. They always did. They weren't T names on any whiteboard or folder. They were voices that never spoke in public, decisions that never left a paper trail. They didn't need to hide. They were the storm, and now the storm wanted its silence back. 3 days after the Eidolon leak, Leah received the message. A handwritten letter, no return address, no threat, just 6 words. You can. T save what? S designed to kill. She read it once, burned it without flinching, but she didn't. To sleep that night. In the cabin, the wind howled like an old friend trying to warn her. Jordan stayed by the front door, rifle in his lap, not because he thought she needed protection, because he refused to leave at 2:37 a.m. The power flickered. Just once, it was enough. Leah stood, sidearm in hand. She didn't speak. Didn't need to. Jordan already had his gear on. 10 minutes later, they were gone. Gone from the cabin. Gone from Maine. Ghosts again. 2 days later, the cabin burned to the ground. Local fire department blamed faulty. Solar wiring, no one asked questions. No one came looking. That was the point. Somewhere in Eastern Europe, Leah met with the last thread of the old world, an investigative journalist who had once been embedded with Cerberus without knowing it. She handed him a drive, not encrypted, not coded, just truth. You dropped this, she said, and I disappear for good. He looked at her. Why now? She looked past him, toward the train station beyond the cafe window. Families, kids, life, because I'm tired of being the only one who remembers. And then she vanished before he could say another word. The article went live 48 hours later. The title was simple. We train ghosts to kill. And now one of them has come back to haunt us. The world didn't to stop. It didn't. Tea erupted in revolution, but it paused, just long enough for a generation to ask harder questions. Back in D.C., Admiral Hayes stood alone before a congressional panel. He gave no testimony, but he left behind one thing. A photograph, 6 faces, no names, just a note. You buried them, but you can. Erase what they taught me. They tried to confiscate it, but someone had already taken a photo. It leaked. Everything leaked now, and for once, it felt like justice wasn't just a myth. Months passed. Leah kept moving, from one continent to another, sometimes helping, sometimes listening, always watching. She trained quietly, no weapons, no battlefield simulations, just eyes, ears, and questions. How do you recognize lies? How do you see what ISN, T said? How do you stay human in a system that wants machines? Her students weren't T soldiers. They were daughters of the disappeared, sons of betrayed whistleblowers, journalists too brave to back down. She taught them the thing Cain feared most. How not to forget. One night, Jordan found her near the edge of a Baltic cliff, overlooking black water. He stood beside her for a while before speaking. You ever think it? Well, I'll be enough? She didn't answer right away. Then finally, no. But that doesn't mean we stop. He nodded. They didn't. To talk again for hours. But that silence? That was the closest either of them had come to peace. 1 year later, in a room lit only by a desk lamp, a general sat across from a new recruit. You want to talk about heroes? He asked the kid. Let me tell you about Viper. He slid a faded photo across the desk. Not official, not signed. Just 6 ghosts frozen in time. I'll never hear about her in briefings, the general said. No medals, no grave. Then why tell me? The recruit asked. The general leaned forward. Because she didn't to fight for recognition. She fought so no one else would have to become what she was. He stood. Sometimes dignity doesn't speak. It just acts. And somewhere unknown, unseen, unlisted Leah Monroe walked into a dim alley, faded hood drawn low, a fresh scar on her cheek. She passed a homeless vet and dropped a burner phone into his open palm. When he looked up, she just said, Tell Hayes, I'm still out here. Then she disappeared into the night. No cameras, no medals, no applause, but her name, her story. It was already legend. The last ghost hadn't to vanished. She, D just become something bigger than fear. She, D become memory, and